Hey everyone, welcome to another Dapr community call. It's February 19th, 2025. I'm Mark Dijker, one of the Dapr community managers. And welcome all to our next stream. And also thank you to Dijker for sponsoring our live stream with all of the streaming destinations that we're doing. So we're streaming to YouTube. That is the best place to watch us because there you can actually engage with us. You can ask questions. Also streaming to Twitter or X, and we're streaming to LinkedIn. So we have quite a busy agenda today, so let's have a look at that. So first up, we'll have Tom Fanara talking about .NET Dapr Agentic workflows. Then we have Yves Koulidiati talking about Agent Plus application of Dapr and Agentic workflows. Then a short announcement about Dapr University. Then a call to action in case there are people who like to help maintain the JavaScript SDK for Dapr. And finally, we end with the usual community show and tell. So let's start first with Tom. Welcome, Tom. Let me add you to the stage. So you're going to talk about .NET and Dapr Agentic workflows. So let me add your screen here as well, and you can introduce yourself.
Sure, thank you. Let me just move that to. Let me know if you can see my screen.
Yeah, we can see your presentation. Yes.
Okay, and I will probably go off cam, hello, everybody. My name is Tom Fanara, and I work for Allegis Technologies, and I'm a systems architect or software architect, and want to thank Allegis for supporting my open source work with the Dapr community. It's a great company with great people, but before I get started, my background has been mainly architecture for the last 4 or 5 years. I am actually a real architect from the State University of New York Architecture School, and practiced real architecture for about 20 years. And then I traded in my T-square for a computer and went into software architecture and never looked back. I'm a tech enthusiast, and I really enjoy technology. I was inspired by a lot of science fiction in the 1960s. I don't want to reveal my true age there, but anyways, I've been around for a while. What I'd like to do is go ahead and present a PowerPoint presentation here, and we'll just kind of start from the beginning. The idea of the Dapr Agentic demo in .NET came about because I had been working with Dapr workflows for. Oh, by the way, I'm going to go off cam here just to preserve some CPU cycles here. I'll need them for the LLMs later, as you'll see. Anyways, the idea kind of came up with having worked with Dapr workflows in a couple contexts, and I immediately saw the idea of the resilience of Dapr workflows, the ease of development, and then integrating well with micro agents or AI agents. So I set out to start building a demo that would demonstrate that, and it was kind of intended as a discovery. However, as I discover more, I actually started the idea of building kind of a fictitious company, and we will take a look at that a little bit later. So here is my overall agenda. Talk a little bit about the purpose again. We'll talk a little bit about AI in reference to what we're doing here. We will go into the design of this fictitious company called ABC Wholesale. We will then look at the workflows associated with that company, and we will go into the architecture then of the software, and then we'll break for a little bit of a QA, unless we just want to wait to the end. We'll look at this. We'll go under the hood, looking at the software, and we will also then we'll delve into the code a little bit. And then I'm going to attempt to do a live demo with with some CPU intensive LLMs, and then we can have another QA. So the purpose here was to discover how Dapr workflows can add orchestration and resilience to a multi-agent architecture. I identified the workflow patterns that are probably best for this. It seems task chaining as a synchronous way of moving through a workflow, fan in, fan out, a asynchronous way, and using aggregations, the monitor pattern, and then the external call pattern. And actually, I actually combined the monitor and the external call patterns together, and they work very, very nicely together. Okay. So I want to talk a bit about just some basic background on AI and what I've begun to discover as part of this demo mission here. I mean, there's some multi-agent applications pose some interesting thoughts, particularly when you're talking about the concept of non-determinism with determinism, and I don't say versus determinism because they actually have to work together. Those two together really begin to formulate what is now being called prompt engineering. The art and science, or the choreography or the orchestration between a user typing in a non-deterministic request for information and interfacing with an organization, and then it running deterministic queries, and then doing non-determinism queries on top of that using LLMs, and then bringing back the answer to the user. So that's we'll see that demonstrated here. The idea of object-oriented programming on the deterministic side of programming with now what is being deemed as agent-oriented programming, AOP. So it's a different paradigm in programming that I find very interesting, because you're almost using, you are using LLMs now to do a lot of your business logic and thought work in your architecture. I wanted to touch a little bit about some technologies that are out there right now. Crew AI. There's also Microsoft's AutoGen. And I'm not going to mention very much about this, but I'm going to put a little halo over a smiley face that I know Dapr is now coming into play with some interesting technologies to very quickly produce some agentic architectures. I think that they're all great. However, I am going to emphasize the need for design before engineering, before you pick up any tool set, but we'll take a look at that in the next slide. I'm a firm believer in creating jobs with technology and assisting jobs, but not replacing them. And I think there's been a lot of hype around that, perhaps a lot of anxiety. I'd say there's nothing to worry about right now. I think that it's got to prove out in the creative part and also the assistance part. And so it's an opportunity to build a company's DNA using these technologies, and you can train your models on a regular basis and rag out your information, and it's a brave new world here. So let's go into the next slide, which is the beginning of design, domain-driven design, which I'm a firm believer in. Design before engineering. So if you notice in this diagram, there's not a bit of engineering. There's no mention of Dapr. There's no mention of C# or anything, or architectural design patterns. I think it's imperative that a company is described. If it's a new company, if it's a brownfield endeavor, whatever, I think it has to be described in terms of these ubiquitous language, the context map, such as I have on this screen, the relationships, the political relationships, and also the definition of business rules, which are very important. And notice the business rules are being associated with their respective domains. That is extremely imperative, particularly when you start stacking on intelligent agents on top of your domains, let alone deterministic programming. So then, we're getting kind of to the interesting part with Dapr here, and I am a firm believer that life is a workflow. I mean, if we even look at our daily routine, when we wake up in the morning, drink orange juice or a cup of coffee, maybe read our emails, then start to work, take the kids to school, whatever. It is, there's workflows happening all over the place. And my belief in any complex technology, I believe from the start, you should really be considered wrapping your technology in a workflow. For a simple CRUD application where you're just updating through an API, no. But when you're talking about the automation of business processes for a company, definitely consider workflows up front. So I'm showing a routing slip pattern workflow here, which we'll exemplify in a live demo. We're starting with a task chaining, a synchronous workflow that has all these runs all these respective activities according to their respective domain. And notice that, here's your accounting domain, HR domain, inventory domain, sales domain, and any future domains you have. And then there's a management domain as well, which is the main orchestrator and where we will find our workflows. Then we're looking at another workflow design pattern, and I'm calling that a delegation pattern, where the workflow, a monitor workflow with external calls, keeps on looping through in the workflow and waits for user input, and can also and then delegates a conversation between the user, but with a manager always observing the conversation and routing the conversation to a particular domain. So this is actually kind of a one-to-one, where the other one was a synchronous one-to-many diagram. Okay. Last but not least is architecture, of course, and this should be a very, very familiar picture here with the use of microservices on the right and their respective domains, and we are adding our own AI agents to each one of those domains, and you can see that each domain has its respective data persistence repositories, whatever. And we have an actual avatar for each one of those. Carlos is in sales, Jenny is in inventory, Chloe is in HR, Jimmy and Janice are in the management one on the bottom there. And they all have their respective, again, persistence layers and business rules and plugins to be tapped into for intelligent conversations with the domains. Okay, so I wanted to go a little bit, start going into the code here. You can use, obviously, VS Code or Visual Studio. People seem to be migrating more towards VS Code lately. I used, obviously, the .NET Framework, .NET Core, C#. I used Dapr 1.14, have not moved to the 1.15 yet, but I'm excited about that. Obviously, you have to have Docker. I think, and also you can use Podman now as well. I'm using some Microsoft Semantic Kernel as my kind of embedded memory matrices, storing in-memory vectors. I am using the Ollama framework, and I'm running all my LLMs locally, so I don't gin up a lot of cost online through the cloud. We'll see those demonstrated here, and then an assortment of Ollama tools that are in alpha stage right now, and are, there's probably going to be a lot of change over this year with the semantic framework and its related tools. And then ultimately, I am on a Qualcomm Snapdragon processor, 12-core, 3.40 megahertz laptop, believe it or not. And I did go out in the market and look at 2 or 3 laptops to run LLMs, and I found that the Snapdragon seemed to perform the best. I'd like to hear if there's any other ones out there that are that are better. I've yet to tap using GPUs. It comes with, it's very interesting. It does come with a built-in NPU, neural processing unit, a GPU, then of course a very, very powerful CPU. I'm just running on CPU now. We are working on the ability to convert them to work with the GPU to get more power locally. Okay, so what I'd like to do is go into a demo, if I dare. By the way, I wanted to look at what my CPUs are running. Yeah, okay, I'm kind of starting out at 10%. That should be okay. And what I want to do is have my chat box up there, and then I want to be able to use these workflows as a map of kind of where the actual chat is actually going. And as you can see here, I was doing some prompting before and getting some return messages, and that's DeepSeek at work there. Okay, so I'm going to move this little message box over here, and I'm going to actually just ask the application to please send current employees in sales, and this is a routing slip chat, so it's going to route my message through the company, and all the respective agents will contribute. So I'm going to hit the send button. We should get an answer back from the management here. Okay, so management is actually contacting agents, so the manager is acting kind of as a proxy before the actual routing slip starts. Obviously, it's going to route to HR because we're asking for employee information. It's going to skip inventory, and it's going to go to sales, and it's going to come back to the manager for review before it goes back to the chat. So we should see a message being sent to Chloe if it's not always. Yeah, getting information. So we should see Chloe prompt pretty soon. Yeah, Chloe is prompt, and she should send her information. And by the way, I'm using SQLite in memory here, so I'm not using any heavy databases on my local computer. That kind of works nicely just to populate some databases. Okay, now the manager's contacting the sales group, which is Carlos. And as you can see, Carlos, it's a very productive guy over here. He's cranking out some sales information for us, and he should be done shortly. And that would conclude, okay, 780,000 in sales. That looks good. So now the management activity is completing the review and requerying the data again. It is using DeepSeek as its LLM. The other ones were using either Llama or Phi-3 or Orca Mini, as I mentioned in my PowerPoint earlier. Our information here in DeepSeek is proven to be pretty efficient and pretty extensive, although not particularly much faster than the other LLMs. Okay, so as you can see, it returned an aggregated, correlated answer from all of those, from all the respective domains. It's talking about the employees here. It is kind of trying to discover how employees and hire dates possibly could relate to sales and correlating that. And I think it does ask you to ask further questions, but we won't do that for now. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to switch to the delegation pattern, and I'm just going to go into a team chat here. And I'm going to ask Jenny for inventory here. Please send inventory. Yeah, let's see. Contact management again. Okay, agent is getting information. So that means Chloe, who was right here, should be prompted pretty soon. And what I'm going to do is very interesting here is I'm going to crash the app on purpose. Somebody turned off the electricity at the data center. Everything goes down. Our client app will stay up. Okay, Jenny got her prompt, and she should be cranking out her data. Okay, she's done. Now it's being sent back to management for review, but all of a sudden somebody turned off the power at the data center, and oh no, everything went down. What are we going to do? But of course, so our chat is still there. It's refreshing its connection with the WebSocket. I am using WebSockets, by the way. So I think that they just told me that they're going to restart the power at the data center. Everything should go back up, and Dapr should call its reminders and recover. Okay, so as you can see, it's beginning to recover. It was still in the defining agents stage, and in blue we should see some of the messaging coming from the state store, of which I am using Redis in this situation. And okay, so let's go back to where
Your audio is breaking up a bit, Tom.
because we'll then analyze that. This might take a while. I've got a lot of things going on in this computer right now, but you can see that the Dapr workflow is working hard to recover everything for us, so we have a resiliency. One thing I want to mention is that not all of these apps have to use a chat interface. I mean, the routing slip technology could actually even use a web app, and you could basically start the routing slip, and it would notify you later on that your information has arrived or sent by email. I'm just using a chat interface just to kind of illustrate it easily and show you kind of how it would all step through the workflow. So, okay, so DeepSeek just analyzed the inventory, and as you can see, DeepSeek does a great job of going through and inferencing anything that you may want to think about. So that's basically it. And if I just type in, I think exit here. Okay, how nice it says goodbye. Okay, so that ends that workflow. So that concludes my demo. I think at this point, Mark, I don't know how far I'm into this yet. I think I got about 5 more minutes left.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Okay, so I'd like to open it up for QA. Please feel free.
I don't see any questions yet in the chat. So I think for now, please.
That's either a good thing or a bad thing.
No. Can be both. No. But I think you need to just continue, and because I asked people to ask their questions in the chat, because there's always a delay between what we do live and the stream. So I suggest you just continue.
No, I'm actually done. I think that I think I've covered everything that I wanted.
Can we have a short look at the workflow itself?
Oh yeah. Oh geez, how could I? I'm glad you said that. Let me just close. Let me just shut the app off. Oh gosh, I can't believe I forgot that. Not even following my own PowerPoint. Okay, so here is the software, and as you can see, here's my respective microservices: accounting, inventory management, notifications, sales, and of course testing. And the anatomy of one of these microservices basically is, along with its Dapr manifest, and I'm using a vertical slice architecture here, and I have my API handlers here, and then I have, and then the handler actually is running the LLMs and processing that, and it's being called by the workflow. So the microservices are standalone domains. They are loosely coupled with the workflow, of course, and called by the workflow, which is actually in the management API. And if I go there, I have everything, all the workflow classes in my under features. And if we take a look at the task chaining workflow or the routing slip, we can begin to see how that's actually done. I'm just using simple task chaining, and once it sends the list of the domains, it basically returns the domains it sends a question to the actual domain microservice. It's sent back by an HTTP call, and then routed back to the chat or to review. And so that's basically it. And then I have my activities over here. So each domain has its own activity. And then I have my results rewrite activity over here. And each one of them is an actual agent itself using the Ollama framework. And in this case here, I am using DeepSync R1 1.5 billion parameters. So a little bit under the hood on the code. And then of course for the delegation pattern, I'm using the monitor workflow pattern, which has the continue as new, and it's using the call to wait for external event.
Nice. Yeah, I think a lot of people wanted to see this, so thank you for sharing.
Yeah, I'm sorry about that.
No, that's okay. That's okay. Yeah. Are you passing any state when you do the continuous new, or is it just like continuous new without any?
It's an interesting point, and I wanted to ask the group this because I think, let's see, this argument here, is that true or false? Saving the history, is that argument? Let me see. So that's preserve unprocessed events. Yeah, I wasn't sure about that. If you set that to true, are you saving each cycle to the state store?
Oh, interesting. I haven't seen that myself yet. That's a good one. I'm not sure if anyone here is online to answer that, but otherwise it's a good question for Discord.
Yeah, I wasn't sure about that, but I set it to false in the sake of probably saving some
yeah. All right.
space. So anyways, okay, so that concludes it for me.
Perfect. There was one more question that I see. Yeah. Are you planning to use the conversation API in Dapr 1.15 once you upgrade or not?
Yes, I am. Yeah, I think that's one of my next steps is to upgrade to Dapr 1.15. And
cool.
I'm not quite sure. I hope I find 1.14 fine for performance. The slowdowns that you see are really the LLMs, not Dapr. So
yeah. All right. And anything else you can share performance-wise? Because someone is asking how much latency overhead are there between the microservices?
I think the HTTP calls happen instantaneously to the microservice, of course, through Dapr as a separate
that's
workflow.
like several milliseconds. Yeah, that's very low.
And the what's really, and I should have showed my I didn't show my CPU while I was going through that. But you'll see these CPUs spike up when you're loading the LLM, and when the LLM is thinking, it'll go up to about 80% on CPU. So I'm not capping it off, which is not bad. I just think that you're going to get more speed with the GPU configured, and I have yet to do that. But you can configure Ollama to use the GPU instead of CPU. So,
all right. Yeah, it sounds like some good experimentation there. Yeah. All right. Yeah, thank you very much for this demo, Tom.
Thank you very much, Mark.
All right. Let's move on to Yves. I'll add you to the stage. All right. Hey, can you start by sharing your screen? And
Absolutely.
then we are good to go.
See here.
And in the meantime, I can answer Elke's question. Is Dapr a good framework for setting up a scheduled job system compared to something like Hangfire? Dapr offers quite a lot of functionality actually for scheduling jobs, because there's of course Dapr workflow, which of course more for orchestration type purposes. But there's also a jobs API. It's still in alpha, the API, but that's definitely can be used to schedule all kinds of jobs in the future or at a regular interval. So I would say yes. If you have questions, I definitely recommend you to go to the Dapr Discord. There are a lot of channels there dedicated to either scheduling or to workflows. So if you have more in-depth questions, that's probably the best place to go. Yeah, I see your screen. Here we go.
All right.
Floor is yours.
So, thank you, sir. So, hello, guys. My name is Yves Koulidiati, and I'm a CTO at Agent Plus. Well, I actually known Tom for quite a while. Uh, he's the person that introduced me to Dapr and Dapr technology, and from there we actually integrated and used the Dapr technology at Agent Plus. So my background is software engineering, and I'm and again CTO at Agent Plus. And as an agenda here, I'm gonna go ahead and go very quickly what we are doing at Agent Plus and how we are leveraging Dapr as a technology to achieve our goals. And I will also go through one of the workflows that we're using for one of our module at Agent Plus, and I will do a live demo as well. So let me see here. So at Agent Plus, we trying to okay. The problem that we're trying to solve at Agent Plus is that in the customer service representative, in terms of insurance industry, there are shortcomings. Things like where agents have a need to perform tasks that are manually done or take a long time, and we are trying to at this point. We found an opportunity to basically solve the problem, which is by doing client profiling, policy checking, and manage documents by using machine learning to make that happen. So the system we are actually built or are building still is really like a CRS assist, which is a customer service representative assist, which is the missing pieces. So we're trying here to really assist all these different agencies in the industry to manage the policy lifecycle using AI, from new businesses acquisition to business retention. And we're also trying to help those companies increase efficiency and new business across selling and retention. And most of all, as well, which is a pretty good thing we're trying to accomplish, is bringing minimal to no training as well to those agents. So, and the technology we're using at this point is very much we got a web console or web portal that agencies can use. And we also using things like all the data sets that we have collected to train our AI models. And we got, of course, a data store. And we leverage all this using the Dapr technology, especially in terms of state management and resiliency. So I'm going to walk you guys through here. A very simple. So one of the modules we have, important module that we have at Agent Plus is called a certificate builder. And we have used Dapr workflows to automate literally this process. So the certificate builder is responsible of generating insurance policies for customers. So this process is very, very manual at this point, and we found a way to automate this process so that they can generate from hundreds to thousands of certificates once at a time, just by uploading a file as an input. And then we help them, we walk them through the process as a stepper of generating those certificates using Dapr workflows. So in this case, the client will import a file. Usually it's an Excel file that they literally create on their own with different inputs. And once the system picks up this file, we kick off a Dapr workflow that actually begins a step one, which is an import, and kicks off an activity. And that activity is responsible of scraping that Excel sheet, picking up all the data that it needs, and to get ready for the next step. And once this activity gets completed, once the customer or the user click on the next button, it raises an event in Dapr to complete that first step. And the completion of that step actually kicks off the next event, and which is the reviewing process. And that once this reviewing process is also completed, another event is raised in Dapr to kick off the next activity. So, and you can see here on the third activity, some additional pages are being added to the certificate. And once that step is completed, the next event that's being raised kicks off the last activity to generate all the different certificates needed for the user. And once that's completed on step 4, the user has all the documents that he needs in terms of evidence of property insurance or invoices. And in this step, the user can email and do all the other operations related to the certificates being generated, or that have been generated. And once that completes it, it completes the workflow. Now, an interesting part of this process is the resiliency. So if the system ever goes down, or the customer stops or exits the application and comes back, Dapr goes back and kicks off where it stopped. And then if the user has stopped on step 2, it would actually go back to step 2 exactly where the user stopped, which is a very, very great feature for us. And I'm going to just go ahead here and demo how this process works. So this will be the user interface where the agents will come in and try to generate a new certificate. And I'm going to bring the debugger out to the right so we can see what's happening in the background in Dapr. So once the user click on new import, you can see here that the workflow kicks off the workflow, which starts the first activity in the background. And the user is going to go ahead and complete the first step here, which is picking up teams and badges. And once it moves to the next step, okay, it's going to complete it. You can see here that it completes the first step and then start the next activity, which is review, and then process it and wait for the review activity to get completed. So it started it and was waiting. So the user is going to go all the review here, review all the data for the files and make sure everything is completed. It's going to move to the next step, and it will kick off the next activity, which is additional pages. It's waiting for that step to be completed. And I'm just going to keep going here. And when I move to the next, it's going to finally generate all the documents needed for the customer and complete the workflow. And on this last step, you can see that all the documents that the user needs gets generated, and the invoices have been generated, and they can do whatever other operations they need to do in terms of sharing, emailing to lenders, or viewing or downloading the files or sharing it. So there is another module that we're working on right now, which is the Agentic module that Tom just demonstrated. We are working on implementing this, which is going to be some type of chatbot with AI agents in the background, where our users are going to be able to literally integrate the system about any type of status on their documents, how many policies they generated today, if there's any policies that need to be renewed. And all these will be using that agentic pattern, using Dapr workflows. It will work almost the same, but with different agents that that Tom just demonstrated. And that's the next module we're actually working on. Well, thanks, Tom.
Sharing is caring, right? Yeah.
Okay, so I think I'm just gonna stop right here, and that will be, the end of my demo. if there's any questions, I'm happy to answer.
Yeah, so I just dropped a message in the chat. If people have questions, please write them in the chat, and then I can forward them to you.
Okay.
I don't see any of them yet, but I would definitely. I have like one or two. So you're relatively new to Dapr, as I just heard. So how did you find getting to know Dapr? How was the onboarding experience for you?
Well, new to Dapr is maybe not, but I can share my experience. I can share my experience.
Okay. Yeah.
So basically, we were looking for a way of, and again, what really got us interested into Dapr is state management and resiliency, because those were very important to us.
Mm-hmm.
And as Tom was saying earlier, life is like a workflow, and I think that every company that understands that should literally have all their processes, turn into workflows. And the easiness of Dapr to implement those workflows really would really caught our eye, or my eye, which is the reason why. And in terms of resiliency, Dapr is right on point. And when Tom introduced me to Dapr, I went back and I looked at it, and I'm like, man, it's that easy. Wow, this is great. All right, so I started doing some testing and started using it, and it was so simple and flawless, and that I didn't have a hard time at all getting workflows implemented, which was really something that I did like a lot.
Great.
Yep. So that was kind of my experience. Yeah.
Cool. Very cool. There is one question, and that is a very good one. What happens for in-progress work when you, for instance, you're deploying a new version of the application?
Or the in-progress work. So one thing that you don't want to do for in-progress work is you don't want to update your existing workflows. Okay. So let's say that you deploying a new version of the application with a different where workflows have changed. What you don't want to do, just to be safe, is keep the old workflow working and then deploy your new workflow, so that any new I would say new process that comes in can only use the new workflows, and the old workflows, existing workflows, can keep using the old workflows. Because if you ever update your old workflows, you're going to crash. You're going to literally crash those old workflows that are running. So this is how we handle. And I hope I answered that question properly. Hopefully,
I
and
think it's a good answer. Yes. I was thinking the same way.
right.
Yeah.
So
it's,
that's
yeah, thank you. Yeah, because just to recap, right? Because things can go wrong when your data becomes out of sync with a new version of
exactly
the workflow, right? So that's a risk. It's a risk with any workflow engine, to be honest.
Right.
Let me remove your screen. So one way to mitigate that risk is need to sort of version your workflow. I just say
Exactly.
Workflow version 1, workflow version 2.
Version 2.
That will be a safe way to deal with
Yep.
this. Yeah, there are other solutions out there, which we're definitely gonna cover in some more training material and docs material later. But that's one of the most tricky things about the workflows in general. Yeah. But yeah, thank you for answering it. It's a good.
Thank you.
All right. Thanks for this demo. By the way, I forgot also to ask Tom, but maybe you know as well, Yves, and I can actually also add Tom back to the stage audio wise. Can your code is it online somewhere? Can people check it? Can they try it out for themselves?
Yes, I can put it in. I believe. Can I put it in? I can put it in this chat, or I can actually. Can I add it to the YouTube?
Yeah, I will add it to the YouTube description.
Okay.
If you put it here in the chat.
I'll send it to you. Yes, it's available. It's fairly updated.
Cool.
And so yeah, and if you've got any questions, just send me an email, or you can get to me also on Discord as well.
Exactly. Yeah, I think in general, probably Discord is the best place to be if you have more questions for us. Yeah, perfect. All right. Thank you very much, gentlemen, for your contribution today.
You're very welcome.
All right.
Okay. Thank you.
We are moving on here. Let me share my screen again. Next item on the agenda is Dapr University. That was announced by Digrid slightly over a week ago. So Digrid is offering like a free learning program to learn Dapr. So you can access it by going to digrid.io/Dapr-University. At the moment, there's one lesson, the Dapr 101, which is not for you here probably because you already know Dapr probably since you're watching or listening to this. But it may be for your colleagues or friends who are interested in Dapr but don't know exactly what it is. They can run this first course. It spins up like a sandbox environment where you can actually run Dapr commands and run applications. And the samples are in .NET and in Java, JavaScript, and Python. So pick any language that you want, and you can have like a good first introduction to Dapr. We're currently working on the Dapr workflow training, which will be available in a couple of weeks. Also, this community call shows there's a lot of interest in workflows in general. So that'll be a good resource to learn more. Oh, I actually need to remove this one. All right. Then, like I mentioned in the agenda, we are looking for new maintainers for Dapr JavaScript SDK. So the previous maintainers, they had other responsibilities, so they could not continue anymore. So they can still occasionally contribute, not be available as a maintainer. So this is the GitHub repo for the JavaScript SDK. It's in a very good shape. So if you want to contribute and think, what am I getting into? Don't worry. There's even some documentation, also some videos on how to contribute and how to make this a smooth onboarding process. So there is material there. If you're interested and proficient in JavaScript and TypeScript and Node, then we would be very welcome to welcome some more people to this repo. All right, and then the final section, the community show and tell. Well, first the upcoming events. So first on the 5th of March, there is a hack night in Bern, Switzerland. Dapr in action, learn and build. And then I'm speaking at a conference in the Netherlands, Future Tech, again about Dapr workflow and resiliency. There is Divine Ourazi speaking at SRE Day in London later in March. And we have Nico Vermeer talking about Dapr and Aspire at 2 different conferences, one in Romania and one in Norway. We got the blog post. There are 2 blog posts on Medium, building reliable cloud applications with Dapr by Kostya Stepanov, and 4 methods to access Azure Key Vault from Azure Kubernetes Service, AKS, and one of the options uses then Dapr secrets. 2 videos. Rodrigo did, or actually is still doing like a whole series of Dapr in action videos on C# TV, and the 2 latest ones are what is sequence management and building block, and the configuration building block. So if you're following that series, definitely check out these 2 as well. And then some collection on social media. Some people saw the news about Dapr University and are helping to share that, which is great. One of my colleagues did a meetup in Portugal talking about Dapr. People are announcing the hack night in Bern there, and Mauricio was in Japan recently, also talking about Dapr for the cloud native and the Java community there. So yeah, a lot of buzz about Dapr, and it was also mentioned today, the conversation API. So someone is already probably trying that out or announcing that will be a feature that's very welcome. Just a shout out to some of the people on the Dapr Discord. So the Discord is really the place to be if you have questions, because there are a lot of Dapr maintainers there who can help you answer questions. It's also a great place to give feedback as well. So in the actors channel, there was a good discussion about different ways to actually do some asynchronous messaging between actors. So thank you, Oisin, Ollie, and Josh for that good discussion. And in the observability channel, Joel was asking some very, very good questions, and Salaboy was answering that because he was thinking the same lines, or how to actually propagate traces to a component implementation to have like more enriched tracing information that Dapr can offer. So a lot of good stuff is happening on Discord. So if you haven't joined yet, please join. And finally, there are different ways how you can join the Dapr community. So joining this call is, of course, amazing. So thank you for doing that. I mentioned the Dapr Discord several times. We actually have like a community program. So if you're very much involved within the Dapr community, you're writing about it a lot, you're creating videos, you're speaking about it, you can nominate yourself to become a Dapr Meteor. The next round of nominations will happen in April. Again, we also award different kind of badges. So if you are contributing to one of the many open source projects or do documentation, but also if you're presenting about Dapr or writing Dapr blog posts, you can collect various Dapr digital badges. And finally, you're definitely a Dapr community supporter because you've shown up to the community call. So if you don't have this Dapr community supporter badge yet, you can scan it right here or go to bit.ly/Dapr-supporter. And that concludes this community call for this week. Thanks so much for showing up, and we'll see you in 2 weeks. Thanks, everyone.